on average, I think, a lot worse than they did throughout lock-in, and they're not really brimming with confidence right now.
I mean, I casted the C9 series last week versus Sentinels. There was a lot of silliness in that series. There were definitely some shenanigans.
Can we bring back the car analogies? Those were fun.
We might need more of the car analogies today. I'm going to go ahead and say I hope not, because those cars were all over the ditch last weekend. But let's go ahead and hop into our draft here, because we do have the first round of bans already done. C9 has banned away the Karma, the Orianna, the Pantheon. Over on the Disguise side, it's the Varus and Jarvan that remain ever popular, alongside that APA Ziggs ban that just feels like a tax against C9, and Azir, the first pick for Disguise.
Yeah, and I do like that they are just respect banning the Ziggs. That is something that just APA and overall C9 looks super comfortable playing. As we see that Ashe Seraphine bot lane immediately get locked in for C9, we'll see what, I mean, MF has been somewhat of an answer to this, so you know, we'll see how well they can pilot that, because the power of this Ashe Seraphine continues to kind of run rampant throughout not just the LCS, but like all over, like globally.
Absolutely, and we do see pairs always locked in against it. This is a pair we've seen against it. We saw this at First Stand, we see it occasionally throughout the world, but you often actually see Nautilus banned early in the series when you're going to blind pick the Ashe Seraphine, so it'll make that bot lane fairly volatile. The more standard match would have been something like Karma Nami to go up against Ashe Seraphine, or Ezreal Karma, which had been banned away with the Karma ban, but the bot pairs seem more entrenched than ever when I see drafts on this patch.
Yeah, okay, so we've got the Xin Zhao and the Azir being the mismatched role picks so far here in the first half, while both sides absolutely have their bottom lane duos drafted. So I expect the second half of the bans to kind of reflect that, and sure enough, it does. It's mid lane bans from Disguised, as Ryze will be the first target for them. C9 going to go ahead, take that Nocturne off the table, keep that away from KryRa.
But I think what's really interesting here is because the Jarvan and Pantheon were already banned, looked to me like C9 was going to try and pinch the AD jungle pool, but didn't at the last minute, because Vi is still available if they want to choose that, even though it's more of a side lane punishing champion, and C9's going to want to group to team fight. I'm a little surprised that they actually banned Rumble this late in the draft rather than just pinching out the rest of the OP AD junglers, so we'll see what they end up going with.
And our last ban here alongside the Rumble. From the Disguise side, they will remove the Yorick. They don't want that powerful split pushing threat. When you have Ashe Seraphine as just kind of this immovable bastion that can deal with a 3v3 or a 4v4 situation, having Yorick constantly marching down the side lane can be a real pain. C9 going to go ahead, lock in Cassiopeia for their mid lane.
Yeah, and Cass is something that we have also seen APA be very, very comfortable playing. It is one of his like many kind of comfort picks that previously was considered off meta, is now somewhat of a response to Azir. The Zac is something that KryRa has pulled out as one of his like kind of, again, off meta, like slightly wonky pocket picks. But we do see the Jayce locked in instead initially, and now hovering the Volibear.
Well, Jayce, remember, we do still have the possibility for him to be flexed to the jungle these days as well, so not 100% certain that that'll be going into the top lane, although I would expect it to most likely be going there. Last pick here. Disguise taking their sweet time, running down the clock on this one.
The free win on the mid Sion, but clearly he's not on the same page as everybody else. They like the look here with the Sion into the MF and specifically the Jayce because he can get early armor against a Mundo who's not going to be a huge gank threat, so makes sense for the top lane in this game.
Plus, I always like when you have Seraphine on your team, if you have multiple frontliners that can facilitate the encore going further, blasting through the entirety of the enemy squad, and I think Sion and Xin Zhao are great champions to facilitate that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you think in the mid game that Sion and Xin are difficult to kill? Well, wait until they have a Seraphine behind them, buffing them up, and like you said, using that extra range to get a really good Seraphine ult off.
All right, let's do it. Getting on to Summoner's Rift for the first time today. Best of 3, C9 versus Disguised. And I think that this Ashe Seraphine combo has proven time and time again just how effective it is, just how oppressive it can be. So there is going to be pressure on Sajed and Lyonz to try to find something here with this Nautilus pick that's meant to be able to punish it, meant to be able to all in.
Absolutely. It's also Vulcan's first career Seraphine game, but it's only a matter of time with the Enchanter meta and Vulcan preparing for the future. Friendly chat, I think that's more of a checking to see if all chat is on and whether or not he should waste energy in the title.
Okay. Fair enough. That makes sense. So coming into this matchup, I think one of the most important things to look at is the jungle in particular, right? You're looking at Blaber being one of these all-time great North American junglers, and you're looking at KryRa coming in as this guy who's really got to prove himself now. So we've got the blasting cycle that has occurred so far here in the LCS. Remember that Blaber blasted Griffin when they played in all of those series back-to-back, like going head-to-head back in first stand in split 1, but then Griffin just last weekend blasted KryRa, right? Like just completely took over the series, took him out of the game, took all his Raptors. So now the question is, where does the blasting one aim from here? Can KryRa turn this into a Pokemon type of situation where each one counters one of the others in a circle? Or is this just going to be a line straight from Blaber through everybody else in a massive wake of destruction?
Yeah, circle of blasting or like a blast hierarchy.
Yes.
Trickle down blastonomics.
There will be blastonomics, but we don't know how they're going to function in this economy.
Well, thus far, there's been no crazy level 1 shenanigans, right? Like, we didn't have any sort of invade. Blaber does have something that KryRa doesn't in this game, which is Ashe Vision. The bane the bane of all like early junglers who have to go up against a team with an Ashe on it. And as we see that bot lane 2v2 just kind of firmly pushing in on the bot side, and both junglers just doing their top-down clears.
Yeah, the big wave crashed, so the CS is starting to equalize a little bit. There's only a 2 CS lead for Vulcan Zven so far, but typically when you have the ranged support versus the melee support, unless you are getting that first kill or that first gank off, the Ashe Seraphine should be able to bully pretty hard. So we'll see what happens here with the first crab, because KryRa is in river quite early, and Blaber is approaching, so trying to get a gank off here.
All right, APA is under pressure. KryRa coming in, trying to punish some of that all-chatting so far. Immediately pops the heart stopper, but still takes a lot of damage from APA, who's down to 100 HP, flashes back out as Callme proceeds to chase. Flash auto attack! Callme shuts him up and sits him down. The Azir, however, about to get punished now as Blaber swoops into the mid lane. Flash for the win becomes lightning, guarantees the counter kill. KryRa can at least secure this topside scuttle crab and get away.
So really interesting there. It was very greedy from APA, but I feel like that was him and Blaber trying to pull off something impressive, because he knew he could get a ton of damage down onto the Mundo, and then Blaber probably thought he had a double crab angle right there, but APA gets a little bit too greedy, ends up taking too much damage and dies, but Blaber comes in to secure the cleanup kill.
Yeah, as we see, KryRa definitely saw his window, and Blaber's all the way down in the river, but kind of already headed up, and APA gets so much damage here, thinks he'll be able to flash out. Callme finishes him up, and then Blaber's here to clean up the kill onto Callme. KryRa does end up getting that top scuttle crab, and then Blaber got the bottom one too, so they still did split crabs off of that.
Ends up being pretty good for KryRa, all things considered, because his mid gank technically worked to get his mid laner a little bit ahead and also burned the flash of APA. So not much ends up coming of what was a pretty crazy looking play.
I also like burning the flash off of the Cassiopeia, considering the mid laners are about 1/3 of the way to level 6, and we know that once Azir hits level 6, if the jungler shows up and the enemy mid laner does not have mobility to get out after he's already shuffled, all Callme has to do is just find that angle for the shuffle, and boom, you've got another easy kill.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see whether either jungler is going to pay attention to these mid laners here, because they are now both flashless.
Callme forced back a little bit here. Does have to be careful about that consistent APA damage, with both junglers once again looking towards the mid lane. Going to find one another here in the river. Blaber immediately jumps towards KryRa, but not getting a whole lot of value out of that one. KryRa just again trying to make sure that Blaber cannot interfere with anything here. Callme just a minion or two away from level 6. Surely APA recognizes that by looking at his own EXP bar. Has to be careful here about the potential Emperor's Divide.
Yeah, APA wants to bluff a little bit, because if Blaber stuck around, then the Xin would also be pretty strong in the 2v2, but Blaber's made his way to continue clearing as bot lane trades pretty aggressively.
Yeah, Lyonz forced to use the heal there, very low on the Nautilus, has to flash away, and Zven's ready to flash follow. 2 more auto attacks with a focus fire, just take him down here in the 2v2. The Ashe Seraphine doing exactly as they please down here. Zven, he might just get the second kill, and he doesn't even die. It's tragedy for Disguised here in the bottom lane. Zven Vulcan cannot be underestimated.
Zven just gliding on him right there. Perfect aggression from Vulcan Zven in the 2v2. Even the half step back to avoid the damage from the Nautilus E ends up being really crucial in that extended trade, because if he takes any little tick of damage, it would be a trade back instead of now 2 kills to 0 in the 2v2.
Yeah, and this should give them really, really nice bot side control, despite the fact that Lyonz and KryRa are now kind of hanging out, potentially stopping any sort of Drake take, since C9 did have to reset.
Yeah, so they're trying to get a little bit of tempo back, but even this is just KryRa's level 6, and then he can't stick around for that long, because I don't feel like DSG is strong enough to just go for clearing, and KryRa's trying to swoop, gets it.
Okay, nice job there from Callme, setting up APA. KryRa needs more damage here for the play, though. One more auto attack might be able to do it, and there you go. That's what I said earlier. Cassiopeia, no flash, you punish with a Azir ulti.
Yeah, and really good recognition of that small window, like Jatt set up, right? Like, they had to reset after the bot lane kills came out. DSG kind of hung around, tried to establish, got that scuttle crab down, and then took advantage of that. But here is that bot lane 2v2, like you said, Jatt.
Yeah, notice the hawk shot early into the bush to get the original vision, then the ward for the extra vision, and then extending the trade right here. Sajed just loses vision until Zven decides to hit him back one more time. Even with the health potion running, Sajed doesn't have the health to get that last auto off.
Yeah, and here's just the shuffle, flashless mid laner. APA does end up getting his ultimate off, but KryRa is still able to clean him up off of that. So just really nice recognition of the timing windows, seeing that DSG do have an opportunity to get something back and punish that flashless mid laner.
Yeah, that was the one place where they could really go on the map. So APA does need to play more conservative in those situations. The Sion is completely safe already with the plated steel caps up against the Jayce. And honestly, the bottom lane has a 25 CS advantage, and it's so difficult for Mundo to rescue that bot lane. So Callme's absolutely right to talk his trash, because APA's killing him is their only current plan in the early game.
Well, and Callme can just kind of become monstrous alongside this Mundo for mid to late, right? Like, he is kind of has become kind of their win condition and potentially an answer to winning some of these mid to late game team fights, depending on how well he does. I am glad that we had the little checking out. Do we have all chat on? Now we're going to talk a little trash back and forth.
Okay, so right now, Blaber, you can see he's starting up his first Drake 8 minutes into the game, so not particularly fast on that one, but look at the gold spread on the scoreboard. It's about over a 2,000 gold lead just in the bottom lane duos of C9, while the top side of the map goes the other way for Disguised. So C9, playing around anything on this bottom side is going to feel great. Zven and Vulcan are so accelerated. Blaber knows he should be able to take this no problem.
They have them completely jailed in that bot lane right now, and part of it is because of the Mundo pick, because if you're going to be taking the Nautilus MF into Ashe Seraphine, that's already a hard matchup, but it will be able to win in 3v3s. It's just Mundo's never going to help the 3v3, and now they're getting punished.
How about a 3v2 as immediately Blaber is ready to set this up? There's the encore over the top through everybody like I was talking about back in Champ Select. Blaber just makes it so easy for Zven and Vulcan, and Disguised bottom lane is just crumbling to pieces.
And I love this out of C9, following the Drake take, recognizing that they can apply pressure. The bot lane's going to be coming back to lane, grouping up with Blaber and being able to get that kill en route as DSG were trying to reset.
Definitely had some conversations about whether or not enchanters are overplayed, because in the past right now, even after the first double kill, when that MF Nautilus respawn, they're running top lane and the Jayce is running bot lane, and they're trying to reset the map a little bit. But once you lose control of bot lane now, that kind of stuff can just happen to you. They can't contest Drake, they're jailed under their turret, you can't even contest your own Gromp, and they can just dive you on your way back to the lane. They make a bad situation worse, and there's no escape, because these teams don't want to leave their role quests uncompleted.
Yeah, and as we see KryRa taking those grubs as kind of like the little consolation prize that they usually are. But that is where I do want to draw attention to specifically the mid lane, right? Because again, this now becomes their win condition. Can we get this Azir into a situation where he can potentially maybe be in a position to rip through late game team fights? It's still going to be difficult because again, you are going against Ashe, Seraphine, and then a Sion, Xin Zhao, who are all going to be incredibly difficult to kill.
And you mentioned the Sion. We haven't really checked in on top lane because really nothing has happened there.
He just landed a Q flowers.
Yeah, they both queued each other. So far, top lane is pretty much exactly what you would expect it to be. Jayce is up a wave or two of minions. It's not really that much. Callme, though, taking a lot of damage from APA's Twin Fangs here. As soon as you're caught on that miasma, the slow just makes it so Cassio can land so much damage. APA still down just about 3 waves of farm here in the mid lane. Callme still with that 1,000 gold lead on his Azir. Does have to take the reset, completes his Nashors. Now he's ready to TP back towards the mid lane, but again, it's Blaber, Vulcan, and Zven in the enemy jungle, putting the harass
Azir's
on
first row.
Callme swooping around from the side. This might be the punish that DSG needs. C9 overcommitting towards a Mundo, but now the damage back into Callme is there. Vulcan takes the kill, and Disguised have to complete their retreat outside of the jungle. C9 comes out on top yet again. We aren't quite done. Now hold on. Blaber, this time he's getting hooked in. The big bullet time over the top, but it doesn't do enough damage. Sajed is dead. Blaber's on a killing spree. And Zven's looking for even more. Nothing they do works. Disguise dies yet again.
I guess C9 just wins 3 versus 4. That's just the game right now. Absolutely crazy here. You thought when Blaber goes over this wall and Callme with Nashor's Tooth Power Spike flies in behind, they're going to win. We'll say nice stun into flash by Zven so he doesn't take damage from the Azir, and everyone just turns to focus. Very well played 3v4, which is usually a disaster by C9 because they switch targets so effectively.
Yeah, and then when they do try to follow up with the MF ult here, immediately are able to turn on to Sajed, and everything really, really falls apart for DSG now because...
Okay, nice guys. Really good. Going to base now.
Clean.
Because they're going to base now. And now they're going to rotate it somewhere else all over the map. Thanatos. Oh, no. Sajed is level 7. Oh, it's the classic stand there and auto him because you know you're not going to get away. Thanatos. We also saw during the picture-in-picture of the replay, Thanatos almost got solo killed by Castle up underneath his tier 1 turret. Both of the top laners did have to flash for that one. Now we could have yet another fight up here in the top side jungle. Blaber between Lyonz and KryRa here, but he doesn't seem to mind whatsoever. Lyonz trying to Spider-Man his way out of this one. And now KryRa could be the sacrifice. Blaber again with an audacious charge. Forces the flash over the wall from the Mundo. C9 still moving as a unit, trying to keep Blaber protected. Castle's coming in, wants to finish off the kill, but now Lyonz versus Blaber in the red side pit while APA does DPS and a Callme to prevent him from being able to enter into the fight. The shutdown on Zven is there as Castle picks it up. Blaber goes into rampage, killing off the enemy jungler, but it's already a double kill back over to Castle. Lyonz barely stays alive in Disguise, finally gets a fight.
Way too over-aggressive there by C9. They already got away with 1 3v4. This ends up being kind of a 3.5v5 because Sajed could redeploy after dying bot lane, Emily.
Yeah, and Thanatos is unable to join the fight, right? So as we see, Jayce is TPing in on the back half of this. He'll be able to come around for a flank. And APA and Callme are also both trying to rotate up.
Yeah, maybe they didn't see the Castle TP, and then he also walked over what was control warded. Now that they see him, it's kind of toast, because if they knew where Jayce was, I don't think Blaber would ever chase through the red buff, and everyone would exit down through Callme. But that was ending up being a very effective flank by Castle's Jayce.
Yeah, it was really nicely done by Castle, who is kind of the other power point that DSG have potentially on this map. And, you know, that flank saves them a bit. I do still think it's going to be very difficult for DSG as long as C9 are kind of traveling in this pack, especially Blaber with the Ashe Seraphine behind him, because even in that fight that they ended up losing and it was very over-aggressive and the Jayce TP ended up kind of cooking them a bit, you saw how long Blaber survived.
And you can see on your screen right there, Sajed stats, career 7-0 on Misfortune, 700 DPM average. This game, the bit of the anomaly, having to deal with the Ashe Seraphine, not having control in the lane, lost his footing early, and hasn't really been able to recover that, as now that bottom lane control for C9 leads to yet another Drake take. That is their second of this game. They've controlled both so far. Meanwhile, Callme should at least be able to take this tier 1 turret up here on the top side. Single auto attack should knock it over, but no, APA arrives in time and somehow keeps the turret standing. Feel like Callme probably could have taken that one if he wanted to, but all right, C9 holds it.
Yeah,
Whoop, now here, maybe this is what they wanted after all. APA gets shuffled back towards KryRa, but now the big arrow from across the map from C9 guarantees the hit on the Callme, guarantees Thanatos can make that a 1-for-1. Meanwhile, C9's just going to take yet another neutral objective. Blaber has total control over the Herald.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're just casually also just taking Rift Herald at the same time. Really nice arrow as a finisher from Zven to get that on to Callme. But again, it seems like anytime DSG, like APA coming in to save the turret, right? And then DSG are like, okay, we can make a play onto this Cassio, end up doing so, but the rest of C9 are still ready to collapse.
I'll also say, though, if I'm Dom and Arrow sitting in the back room watching this game, hi guys, first. Secondly, I'm really concerned with how things are going based off how well things went in the bottom lane, because Castle just picked up a full turret. He's 2-0. He's going to have a really strong poke onto their squishies. And then this Thanatos able to avoid this one, but the most perplexing thing to me here is like APA keeps playing so aggressively. Like he's 1,500 gold down onto this Azir, and Callme's letting you push him back. Aren't you a little suspicious as to why that might be happening? And then KryRa comes in and kills him once again. It's like all these things is like, wow, how could this Cassio, who's so far behind, get all these like good trades and be like, he's posturing so much, but he's been punished 4 times at this point for the 0-4, and that's part of what's keeping this game very close.
All right, Rift Herald summoned up by C9 here in mid lane. No driver on this one. There were some shenanigans with that this past weekend here in their series against Sentinels, so they're just going to leave this one on the autopilot. It's like one of those Waymos, whatever they are, the robot driving cars here in LA. Yeah, that's a Waymo Rift Herald. It just automatically it just drives itself exactly where it's supposed to be. It hits the target. It's good to go. C9's going to go ahead and pick up turret number 2 there in mid. Still only 1,000 gold ahead as a team, like you're talking about, Jatt. Your bottom lane has a 3K gold lead between the two of them, but now it's DSG moving into the C9 jungle, looking to maybe start a fight of their own. Vulcan could be in some danger, hit by the dredge line. Zven with the arrow onto Sajed, who has to cleanse and immediately flash back over the wall. KryRa down to 1/4 HP, and Lyonz has to flash out now too. DSG falling back towards the river. Castle over the wall, trying to reinforce the lines, but DSG are scattered. Callme's about to die. He flashes away, but he still falls anyway. Castle tries the flank, but instead he only damns himself. APA takes out that strong Jayce, and DSG's plans completely crumble. Thanatos charging in, trying to slow down Lyonz, and with a backup from the Seraphine, they're going to get another. That's going to be 4 dead when it's all said and done. DSG, they thought they had it, but all they had was a one-way ticket to the fountain.
Yeah, they thought they had it, and I really love the team fight targeting that's coming out of C9 into this, recognizing, okay, arrow onto Sajed, he has to cleanse it, still ends up getting charmed up. KryRa takes a lot of damage, and even though he's still surviving as the Mundo, this ends up being able to get right onto Callme, because again, Blaber is just so strong with this Ashe Seraphine behind them. That then allows the rest of C9 to rotate onto Castle, who's looking for another Jayce flank.
Look, Mundo, guys. Guys, Mundo's inting. Mundo's inting. Okay.
Mundo's inting.
By the way, Blaber's favorite thing to do is say the other jungler's inting. You can go listen to their comms from last week. He said that all the time against Hambach. Someone is always inting on Blaber's screen. But I'll say Castle, to me, was the one inting that team fight, because I thought it looked fine until he tried the flank. And now, you know, maybe it's Lyonz who's inting.
I think Lyonz might be inting. I think Zven is going to grab a killing spree for free on that one, and Callme should be able to get away here. I don't really see how Vulcan could be able to catch him by himself. So still, though, 3,500 gold lead for C9. It's rough out here for Disguise. There's your arrow. Oh, no, now Callme. I don't think you get away from that one. Callme. He uses the ulti. He stays alive with a flash twin bang from APA. Finishes the job.
APA with a little tip-in shot on the Cassio at the end. Zven's arrows in this game have been really, really nice. Really well communicated. I'm going to assume that's like not just Zven being good, but an overall team thing. But again, whenever one of these DSG players is isolated, they have to watch out for this group of Blaber with the Ashe Seraphine behind him, because he can just survive for so long and get on their priority targets.
And here we go again. KryRa's your target, and he's just going to go ahead and walk away from this one. I think the story of this game, if you couldn't tell just by looking at the individual gold leads, the kill participation, 11 out of 15 for Zven, 13 out of 15 for Vulcan, only 4 for APA. You've got 9 for Blaber, because he's been helping that bottom lane out a lot too, and then only 5 for Thanatos. So really so much from the bottom lane of C9 this game.
Yeah, play for bot, play through bot with the Sion top lane. That's exactly what's happening. But now third Drake, soul point. C9 first to set up, which is exactly where the Ashe Seraphine wants to be.
Okay, Disguise looking for their entry angle instead. KryRa going to lose about half HP, but the same for Blaber. Thing is, Blaber has Seraphine to keep him healed up. He's got the rest of C9 around him, so they can try to secure this, immediately move to Soul Point with it, and sure enough, they will. Castle with the Shock Blast won't get anything.
There's not a real way for DSG to walk in and start that fight, especially when you have a Glacial Augment level 8 Nautilus with 1 item. So that is your frontline engage currently. You don't have an engage, but actually C9, I think transitioning straight over to this Baron is a little bit bold, but I do like the play, especially if they're ready to turn a fight and they have decent war coverage.
Yeah, they've got 4,500 gold lead. They've got Seraphine to keep everybody healthy with shields and heals around the Baron. KryRa is going to walk up, try to make his way towards this, but it's already down to 1/3 of its health. C9 committing to the Baron for now, slowing DPS a little bit, but no, it looks like we're going to go ahead and burst it. C9 takes the Baron. KryRa's soaking some damage. Bullet time doesn't do a whole lot over the wall as the Encore flies through too. They want to try to use Castle to kill off Blaber, but DSG again don't have the damage. The Xin Zhao stays alive as APA goes into killing spree. Sajed under pressure yet again as Thanatos has made his way into the back line, and Decimating Smash does just that. Everybody on Disguise dies. They trade for APA, but what's it matter? It's a Baron +4 for just your mid laner. C9 will take it.
And they'll get so much more off the back of that Baron. Their mid and top waves are already pushed. They are having their cake right now and eating it too, and I think it's DSG being out of sync as well, because a lot of times when you start Baron with 5 people just like this, you're trying to get the Jayce TP, but then the fact that the Baron dies and then the Jayce TPs anyway into what is already a losing fight just makes things go from bad to worse for DSG.
Yeah, and I like that we ended up seeing that really nice Seraphine Sion combo off the back half of that fight, really making the most of how beefy Thanatos is, extending the range, getting those charms out. And this team comp can just now bulldoze through DSG, as if they couldn't already.
Yeah, and the Ashe having the healing reduction means that KryRa's Mundo isn't going to be getting Giant anytime soon.
No.
He would be the one person who'd maybe be able to buy time in the back line.
You know, APA was complaining about how he doesn't get free wins on the Sion. Thanatos is 6-0 on the Sion in LCS, or career actually. So yeah, he also, like, give him some of those wins, you know?
He's doing pretty good, and the point about the Mundo too, Jatt, not only is it the enemy has healing reduction, you're still only level 13. Level 3 ulti is such a power spike, and your team's already dead on top of it. Castle, that fed Jayce, is already down. Sajed has to flash away just to avoid dying here himself. C9 honestly can probably just try to push for the win right here. They've got the Baron-empowered minions.
I do wonder how much fun Vulcan's having. Because it's like, this is no Bard, right? But yeah, 1-0-17 looks pretty fun.
Yeah, he's going to be having a great time. Anyway, Lyonz taking a little bit more damage here, but C9 not wanting to overcommit onto the Nautilus. Blaber, going to knock up onto Callme, forces the flash out there. Thanatos flying in from the left side. Lyonz flashes, barely stays alive himself. As Disguised, all hurt, but nobody dead here just yet, except for Castle, who's still reviving from the earlier pick. So the tier 3 turret dies in the bottom lane. Minion wave crashing into the tier 3 turret mid. Bottom lane inhibitor going to be your target now. C9 going after that one. It's a long-range TP from Callme. This is Disguised's potential final full send, but C9 are just walking off to stage left anyway, as Disguised can't get in position to try to set up for Callme's flank. He just ends up rejoining the rest of the team from the same angle, and the TP ultimately results in a whole lot of nothing. Blaber jumping right back into the Lyonz here. Third talent strike connects. There's your wind becomes lightning. Callme's next to die. The teleport didn't do a thing. Double kill for Blaber, Xin. Sajed finally falls. KryRa just barely hangs on here with the Dr. Mundo, but he's the only one left alive. The bottom inhibitor's already gone. The mid lane inhibitor's about to fall, and C9's on the victory march.
Playing with so much confidence, grouping up for the Seraphine heals to make them even more powerful. And then APA, 75% of the team's deaths just for good measure at the end, before the end of the game.
We'll see if maybe they can kill the Mundo on the steps. Teams like to pad the stats sometimes, but Mundo is a little difficult to do it on. They might still make it happen. And Vulcan, yes, indeed he does. The Nexus will fall. C9 ran the game start to finish. It's a bot cap. C9 up 1-0.
We need to show the chat. I knew he would do this. If you die 6 times and your team dies 8 times, you have to say mid-gap, and he did. He knew the chat was on the whole time, had to get that in there before he runs off to go to the next game. C9 dominate that game 1.
Excellent, excellent stuff from C9 here in the first one. It's all about the bottom lane. I got to give my MVP for that one to Zven. What are you guys thinking, Lounge?
I'm thinking Zven. I'm thinking Zven looked pretty good right there. And also, I do love APA getting in with the all chat.